in, but reminder that Finn's Aurelia has been perma-banned
Aurelia,
this entire series.
Please. Aurelia.
Do it? No.
Aww. Sorry guys, I do not think that we're going to be seeing the Aurelia today, unless it turns out that it was a Woolite Aurelia all along. Maybe Larssen plays it as well, I don't know, but right now it does seem that Aatrox will be the continued priority.
That also turns out to be a head-scratcher. You know, if Schalke have expended this ban, this entire series, on a champion that Rogue were never going to turn towards, kind of seems a little bit questionable.
Does it matter if you're winning the game, though?
I mean, if you win the series.
Yes. And at the moment, they're going to pick the Lucian and the Sejuani for themselves. It worked out well for them in the last game. We'll see what Rogue's adaptation is, because there is a very slight possibility that Aatrox could go mid, that Inspired could take Aatrox jungle. It's something we have seen in the past.
Right now, I'm kind of edging more towards a potential Olaf. I think that it's something that does pretty well into the Sejuani. It's a big comfort pick for Inspired, and we're seeing Larssen go back to comfort as well. So fans are cheering. Yes, this may seem odd to those at home because it's Azir. However, it is Larsen's Azir, and this is a pick that is very special to him, and it's something that he is very proficient on.
So is Abbedagge going to do it? Are we going to have Azir versus Corki?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw the Rumble. Yeah, the Rumble locked in for Schalke, because I think that just securing that for Odoamne, again, just gives you a very powerful early to mid game that gives Trick a lot of options with where he could play around.
That does mean that Rogue now have the option to deny a Corki Azir matchup if they want to and secure themselves their own late game scaling. Or maybe they've just settled that that's going to be the matchup. It'll be fine. We'll ping pong back and forth, and they start limiting some of the support options that these guys can pick up for IgNar.
But instead, on the side of Schalke, they say, well, we played against Draven last game and didn't enjoy it too much. We now know that Woolite is a Draven player, so we're going to ban that one away. We'll see if Rogue go down that support ban avenue that you talked about, Frosk. At the moment, they have yet to decide where they want to lay these second round of bans.
Do they do the Sona Tom Kench? Do you think it happens? Wait, Rogue banned Aurelia?
There is a high priority on Aurelia that I've yet to really see justification for.
Okay, so I'm sitting here thinking, it's just like, wait. The only reason why Schalke would leave Aurelia open is because they're thinking of potentially playing it into my Azir. I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to ban it away. So we're definitely not going to be seeing any Aurelia today.
We will see no fun champions in the mid lane.
We have seen a lot of Akali. I just want to say she's quite fun to see in the mid lane.
I'm curious as to what Abbedagge is going to use as an answer. We would expect something like the Alistar priority. Bear in mind, the Sona has not been banned away, so it could be a scaling comp coming out from the side of Rogue. The thing is, like, do you really want to Sona Tom Kench paired up with an Olaf?
Into a Lucian?
Well, I mean, like, into the Lucian isn't really the problem, because
I just know IgNar plays aggressive champs. If you go Lucian Blitzcrank into Sona Tom Kench, you could struggle in that lane.
I mean, for sure, and I think that it'll heavily depend on whether or not Schalke actually pick their support right now. They've been playing a lot of Alistar, and it wouldn't surprise me if they look to lock that in right now. Then we could see a Sona turret come out from the side of Rogue. I don't think that it would be beyond our comprehension, and so, like, by locking in the Corki here, we go back to 9-15. But also, because Schalke now have counterpick on support, it now forces Rogue into going for perhaps something that isn't Sona turret, because of course that Blitzcrank that you just mentioned could be a very real choice.
Yeah, that's what this is. This is the gauntlet. Are you going to do it? Will you play a traditional bot lane? And now with the Alistar, yes, it's a denial away from IgNar, but IgNar still has many pocket picks like his Thresh that he can turn to.
Maybe for Woolite?
Tristana would make sense. We have also seen him play the Cog more recently, but that seems very unsafe into a Lucian lane.
The only thing is if you go Tristana here, I feel like you're a little bit too reliant on late game scaling. Like, yes, if you do get to that late game now that it's locked in, Azir Trist, just the sheer protection and range that this combo offers you is absolutely devastating, but there is quite a large gap if Inspired doesn't get snowballed on this Olaf, where during the mid game, this comp from Rogue can be abused.
I would argue, though, that Schalke throughout this series have struggled to effectively use any early game leads that they've built. So what Rogue is saying, you know what? Let's go back to comfort and let's actually just scale a little bit more. If we get an early game advantage, they feel that they know how to use a lead better than Schalke does. But even if they fall behind, because every Schalke win has been 30 minutes plus, Rogue perhaps are just saying, well, fine, we'll scale. And if you can't close out effectively, then we know we will outscale you. And we know we can stall because we have Azir, we have Tristana, we have plenty of wave clear, we have loads of disengage tools. So I think Rogue is saying, like, you know what, Schalke, if you want to team fighters, fine, let's team fight. And that's what they've drafted.
I think the question becomes, though, can Schalke find a lead like they did in game 2? They were like 5,000 gold ahead at the 20-minute mark, and then will they show us that they can actually translate that into a mid-game lead? Because if they do, Rogue really have no answers.
I think that's going to be a little bit harder this time around. We've seen time and time again how devastating Azir Olaf can be in its control over the early game and contesting camps. So I actually think Schalke are looking at that 8-minute mark when Sejuani is level 6, when Corki has access to the package to get this composition going so they can really make a punch during the mid-game.
And we'll see if they are able to do it. 2-1 Schalke lead in this best of 5. Worlds on the line, Athens on the line, everything in the hands of the 10 players in front of you. And so often we say, you know, it all comes down to this, but today it really does. This could be the end of the line, could be the end of 2019 for either of these teams. We'll see if Schalke take it or if Rogue can fight back.
It's important to remember the weight as well for each of these teams, because for Rogue, it's tough to say if they even had any expectations coming into the split, right? A young rookie roster that came in to replace what was the roster from Spring Split and basically just do their best, gain what experience they can. And now they're top 4 in Europe. Anything more is just more for them to build upon, more experience for them to gain, and just sets them up nicely for next year. But for Schalke, it is completely different. This team is full of veteran players. There are title holders on this roster. There are people who have made a name for themselves internationally. And the expectation that these players have on themselves is that they can win. And the weight of them not securing top 3 feels so much different to the likes of these young rookie players on the side of Rogue, who are honestly just exceeding everybody's expectations and hoping to achieve what they thought never could happen.
See Perk saying, this is turning into the best series of my life. 5 games, please.
We'll see.
It's strange. He played the MSI finals, right?
he did do that. We do see a bit of early aggression, Frost.
Yeah, Odo's being forced away here. Does have the flash and the undertows landing from Inspired, but Rogue might actually go for this red buff.
Yeah, well, I was about to talk about the level 1 setup from both teams, but a delayed invade, again, we talked about this briefly in Champion Select, but when you have an Olaf, and when it's Inspired's Olaf, you can assume that you're never going to get access to your jungle. So while Schalke had, I'm going to say, a brave defense of having Odo standing on that Raptor camp, Rogue know exactly how much muscle they have with this type of matchup to bully Trick around. So my eyes are on what Trick does about it, because Inspired is going to walk into your jungle. He will fight you.
Now we see a bit of trading in the bot lane. Looks like Upset and IgNar were the ones that came out on top. Now, by going for this delayed invade, what it does mean is that the map is split. Trick is in control of the bottom side, and he's looking for a gank. Woolite only level 1, very close to the wall.
Woolite will be able to escape from that. They spotted Trick out just in time.
But this is now twice over the course of the series that I want to compliment Woolite and Vander and their ability to play weak side of the map and have a heads-up spidey sense on that type of maneuver. That was really all Trick had available because of that ward sitting on Inspired's jungle camp.
But my biggest issue is that Trick went for that play at all, because he actually had information on where Inspired was. So if we very quickly bring up the minimap, we'll notice that this ward here gave Schalke information that he was doing the Raptors. This meant that there was actually plenty of time.
I'm just going to stop you there. That ward's actually a Rogue ward.
Ah, yes, thank you very much. My apologies there, right?
No worries,
in this situation, I feel like that Trick do have... yeah, my apologies, my apologies.
It's game 4 of the best of 5. We just had a 42-minute long game. The guy's allowed to make a mistake.
I'll think about it. No, but it's okay. It's cool, it's cool. These things happen. My point is, though, that I still feel Trick had the time in order to actually set up the invade, especially when his bot had prio as well. So there was an opportunity for him to set up an invade and steal away that red buff, and instead he tries to make a play. And I just feel like that there were more options available to Trick rather than trying to force a gank.
I was with you, Vedi. I was bought in, I was listening.
That's why we have play-by-play casters, okay?
It's cool.
So, let's have a look at any lane but mid, because we know how Azir Corki works. Inspired's going to go up here and take the Scuttle Crab early on. He was able to get his own red and double blue buffs. So he actually, double reds and his own blue. So he actually got a tri-buff start here and the Scuttle Crab. So he has, once again, got a little bit of an experience advantage on his enemy jungler. We've seen this happen in last game, in the game 1. And we'll see how he uses that, because when you're on an Olaf, it's a little bit different. You want to be invading and trying to counter jungle as much as possible.
The most important thing is going to be the Raptor camp spawn for Trick and how many times Inspired can deny that away from him. So Abbedagge has actually shifted to the top side of the lane, and he's placed a ward onto the Raptor camp, probably to try to catch up the respawn of that camp since it was taken very early on, and also just keep eyes so that Trick can farm his top side of the jungle relatively safely.
Here we see both the junglers trying to look for a gank up towards the top lane. Odoamne once again on the rumble. See, we all make mistakes. On the rumble. Just going to be able to clear out that wave. And not too much you expect will happen early on. Frosk, you talked about it in pick and ban. That 8-minute level 6 mark for Trick and Abbedagge going down and looking for ganks is what Schalke will be aiming towards. Inspired here on those Razor Beaks that we expected. Abbedagge coming in from the side, but Finn has come all the way in from the top lane, and it means that Inspired is pretty safe.
So Abba placed the ward, but it was simply just to watch Inspired take it from Trick, and you're going to see this every single time. Now look at that, level 5 to level 3. It hurts. It feels so bad for Trick, and this just stalls out so much of what Schalke wants to get accomplished, because it's not just about the 8-minute mark of having access to the package. You also need Sejuani to be level 6. Trick is bleeding out right now.
And this is a great job, a great sign rather for Rogue, given that they want to just stall out the early game. And typically when you're picking Olaf, it's someone that you want to try and get ahead with early so that you can then snowball into the mid game. But at the very least for now, what it's doing is it's mitigating any of Schalke's early game opportunities. Can they get the Rumble ahead? Can they get the Lucian ahead? No, because they don't have a jungler that can help support them because of how well Inspired is shutting him down.
And I just want to talk about some good flash. Some bad luck there for Trick. He came around the wall. He was trying to take Inspired's Raptor camp. He placed that ward that Inspired is currently standing on right now, and he was just about 5 seconds too late to the camp spawning. He recognized he didn't have the time to chill and just wait for Olaf to show up, so he's back into his jungle. But this poor guy, 40 to 25, in terms of jungle CS, that hurts.
Yeah, it certainly does. It just goes to show how confident Inspired is on this jungle Olaf pick. You can see that he's built up a bit of a gold advantage. Even though Odoamne lost his flash and an early TP in the 1v1 top, he is still doing very even in terms of the gold. So great job from Odoamne, but it is difficult when Inspired is spending so much of his time playing up towards the top side of the map and making it difficult for Odoamne to really utilize any of the lane strength that this Rumble pick does have.
Teleport coming in here by Finn, has the Hex Drinker. Inspired is behind the tower, maybe expecting Trick to be here. Trick is actually down towards that bottom lane, and IgNar and Trick are in the right position for this gank. Abbedagge is on his way down as well. Vander will be knocked up, but the Pulverize comes out, and Woolite will just open up with quite a lot of damage going down onto IgNar. Woolite and Vander forced away, but IgNar took a chunk in return.
But with information of Trick being bottom, you now see Inspired top side stealing away his red buff. Again, Odo doesn't have his TP. It's about to come off. This could be a potential gank top.
Ooh, I thought Trick would actually start the Drake there. Again, they have prio bot. Mid is relatively even. Perhaps they wanted to avoid it because Trick is only level 4 and they wouldn't take it super quickly. But the information was there. We saw the ping come down. The Schalke was aware that Inspired was on the red buff right now. So there was a window for it.
I think they're going to go for it. Rogue. Oh, no, he's cheating back towards Raptors. Okay, they're not going to die.
Taking as much of the jungle as possible, maybe seeing that Odo had the level 6.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. Good catch, Medic. The fact that Odo would be able to clear out the wave because Finn was building a sizable crash there.
How well will Woolite and Vander play weak side of the map? Because you complimented them for it earlier, but you've got to keep doing it. You have to expect that these ganks will come in. Vander with a good flash away. IgNar burned a flash to try and get the engage, and Rogue once again escape.
The answer is very well. And again, while Woolite and Vander are just soaking up so much of Trick's time, Inspired is running away with the jungle.
Yeah, he certainly is. You can notice the level difference. We already talked about it earlier on, but the farm difference is the biggest thing because Trick is sitting here trying to force these ganks and put Woolite and Vander behind, whereas here comes Inspired with all that gold.
Already so far ahead, IgNar's going to be able to jump away. The TP comes in from Upset as he hadn't burnt his earlier, and Schalke can still look to pressure this bot lane because Woolite is incredibly low.
I think with Woolite being low, missing that health, this is actually going to force Schalke to turn towards that Infernal because they have expended so much and forced so hard here. My question is, how much damage can Rogue do to stall them out from this?
We'll see if they're able to keep them around. Trick coming back. It's like
so
Groundhog Day.
Still level 5.
Wow, he's actually going for that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's
Vander just
delaying.
goes in.
Look, the Corki is roaming down.
I mean, Corki is on his way, but how much can they do? As soon as Inspired shows up, it's like, do you really want to die this? Do you want to go against an Olaf?
The thing is, Larssen doesn't have teleport, neither does Finn, and there's no wave mid for them to push, so Schalke aren't really losing much off this other than putting Woolite behind.
And also, Odo does have TP, and that's a big difference maker here.
Just looking for that plate. They will get it in the end. The Infernal Dragon could be their next target. Trick's going to get this. Scuttle Crab still not level 6. Inspired is level 7 already. Has a 22 CS lead over his opposite man. And we'll see how much that translates into later game leads, because at the moment, Rogue are only 600 gold ahead.
This is that type of game where you come to the end of it and your AD carry messages you as the jungler saying, why did you never gank bot? And you know, and you're sitting there as the jungler thinking, I lost everything for you. And so far, he has not been able to find a single kill. And again, props to Woolite and Vander, but he has been trying so hard to force these plays, force these kills.
I mean, you can see that in the vision. Look at all of the wards from Schalke in that jungle.
It's actually the second slowest level 6 timer this split for a player playing Sejuani, so you can see how far
That was a slower one?
I just say what I'm told, okay? You can ask our stats team who are incredibly good.
I want to know who it was and what happened.
It was Kadril. I can't tell you what happened. Versus G2. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
We could have guessed that one.
Yeah.
It was a mystery for a second.
All right, so the Infernal Drake is still lit up by the side of Schalke. They still do not feel super confident going for it, even though they have a TP advantage. The package is currently unavailable, and they regularly get prio bot. They still don't want to fight for it, which does surprise me, because I feel like that Inspired has shown no instant. He's just like, well, I don't care about Drake. Like, I'll trade it for something else on the other side of the map. But no, Schalke just don't want to take the risk.
Schalke have done a good job making sure that they're constantly having vision around the Drake, not just on it, but also behind it. One of the nice things that Olaf can do is solo virtually any Drake once he has access to the blast
That's
cone.
true, yeah.
So very aware of that matchup are Schalke, and making sure that Inspired never got an opportunity to individually get himself into that pit.
Oh, Woolite and Vander are not in good shape here. The charm comes out, Vander's locked up, doesn't have the flash, he's caught up, and even the Unbreakable Will won't save you now. The stun lock comes out, and Trick and Schalke should be able to chase him down. They're trying to give the kill over to Abbedagge, he'll get it. First blood to Schalke, and now they can look for that Infernal Dragon.
Notice how the rest of the team from Rogue immediately disengage. They want to get to their waves as quickly as possible. They want to push things out so they can look to reset, and they can use their time as efficiently as possible. But this was just a mistake from the Rogue bot lane. They thought that they could gain access to the river and just clear out this vision. But unfortunately for them, the TP was primed and ready from Odoamne. Upset was there to follow up with IgNar in tow. And Schalke were able to find that collapse, find the Infernal, and secure the first objective of Game 4.
And this feels a little bit better for Schalke because they finally got something as valuable as an Infernal, but I still feel that they're not quite back on track where they need to be, looking down the barrel of an Azir Tristana composition. They still need more.
Gonna lose the Rift Herald for the moment. Trick and IgNar were trying to do something about it, just acting as guard duty. And although, you know, Schalke, we say they didn't get many kills out of that bottom lane, they do have a 20 CS lead on Upset over Woolite right now, and mistakes like this are only going to help them try and get that Lucian ahead.
So you can see that Abbedagge and Trick were able to move down from the mid lane first. This means that it was very easy to get this collapse down onto Vander, who did not have his flash available. And while it took some time, it was a relatively easy kill from the side of Schalke that cost them very little to secure. The bright side for Rogue is that I believe Finn secured 2 plates, actually, up towards the top lane. And Larssen was able to push in mid, get an early base, and then get back out onto the map before the rest of Schalke could really punish anything in the mid lane as well. So Rogue's still in a decent spot, the gold very even. Inspired now going for a fight.
And Trick does not realize who is waiting in the wings. Woolite hops in, already one down, and IgNar short to follow. It's a double for inspired, and the chase is on. Upset will use his flash to get away, but Rogue find the fight in the bottom lane.
Yeah, welcome to Inspired's Olaf. He knows exactly how much damage he can do. He picked up the Rift Shield. He knew he was going to use it bottom to try to give Woolite and Vander just a bone, throw them something that they can deal with, and now Woolite and Vander finally get assistance in their lane.
And all of a sudden, Rogue just find themselves two very quick kills. Odoamne! Beautifully played. He saw the teleport come out from Woolite, and he just landed the equalizer, melted through Woolite, saw where he was jumping to, but there was no escape.
That's 2 games and 2 pretty rookie mistakes we've seen from this Rogue squad, but this play with Vander just waiting around the corner was sublime.
So we saw that there was actually quite a lot of setup in this because the ward was already there on the Gromp to allow the TP flank come in from Rogue. Vander was in a brush that had no vision of it, and they were just lying in wait, waiting for the opposition to be able to return. We can see that, I mean, the intense Olaf mechanics of Q, right-click, Q, right-click.
Right-click towards people, okay? Not everyone can do that, Vedius.
I just love the way you're just like, this is the Olaf pro view. And I was like, yes, yes it is, Medic.
Look, I say the things I see.
I mean, fair enough, fair enough.
And right now, Trick is taking the scuttle grab.
Alright,
right-clicking.
So in terms of what Rogue have gained,
We're gonna kill him.
Big objective gain in the bot side of the map. They secured the first tower.
Honey,
they're sitting on a 2k gold lead right now. It's an Azir. There's no way they're gonna
Why
kill
not
it.
just throw it? Schalke scared.
Oh, Abbedagge.
This is what happens when you just throw it. Woolite jumping in, but Abbedagge has the flash and the Valkyrie. Vander looking for the stun. He can't get close enough. You can't just get that right hook in.
Here comes IgNar as well.
Yeah, this is bad. This is super bad. Upset teleported behind them. The Cullen came out. Vander's trying to run away. Pops the Unbreakable Will, but Woolite is already down, and now IgNar's on the chase. Blast coming from Vander straight into the waiting arms of IgNar. And Vander will be chased down. Trick gets a kill. 4-2 in favor of Schalke.
On a scale of bad to super bad, that was indeed super bad, Medic. They overcommitted to that play. Once they got the flash from Abbedagge, they should have looked to disengage, but Vander wanted that kill. And that overcommitment cost the duo their lives. Rogue do trade it for a top tier 1.
Larssen goes in, Abbedagge, they know he hasn't got flash. It was all a bait. They set up for the play in the mid lane. Larssen takes the kill. Upset's pushing in towards the bottom lane, and now mid lane will be under siege from Rogue.
No, that's actually super bad. If Abbedagge had survived there and he'd worked with IgNar to clear this wave, then yes, I think cross-map you can say good news for Schalke. But because in the extended play, Rogue were managing to get top, mid, and this.
And the equalizer comes down, but it's not enough to equalize the fight. A 3v1 will always come out in favor of Rogue.
And now that last 3 minutes of play feels so much better for Rogue.
Yeah, Rogue right now challenging Schalke in the early game. So here we see, again, we want to keep your attention on the minimap and notice that while the aggression is happening here, the TP comes in from behind. This then allows the rest of the team to come in from the flank, and there are very few options available for the duo bot lane of Rogue to get out of this situation. So a double kill comes in favor of Schalke.
Yeah, Rogue just... We're a little bit too greedy with that play. In the end, Vander tries to get away, but he realizes he's surrounded on all sides, and pretty easy secure there for Schalke. Now, a little bit of ARAM happening on Summoner's Rift right now as there's an Infernal Dragon up.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. It's the Infernal and the fact that we don't have access to any teleports. Odo's is just about to come off of cooldown, but I'm going to let this ARAM slide. Understand why every team is here.
Also, Rogue have a way pushing in top and bot, so it's absolutely fine for them all to be grouped up mid because they're not losing anything in the side lanes right now. So by generating that pressure, it's Schalke that have to go and answer, which should give them easy access into this bot river, and they can look to secure themselves their first Drake of the game.
I really like Azir for Rogue, not just because Larssen's a phenomenal Azir player, but with his passive, his ability to secure mid lane priority is actually just kind of a fun added bonus for a team that loves mid priority.
Feels like a team fight is on the cards here. Odo has the equalizer.
This is the thing, C-Medic. Again, notice how, in this instance, every time Rogue gets challenged, they abandon Drake and immediately go back to mid in order to get priority. This forces the Lucian or someone from Schalke to catch the wave so that Rogue can continue to go back to this objective. And they never try and go for these fights. They like the dance back and forth, but they might be forced into one anyway.
It's the equalizer, and Bin's called out with a Glacial Prism. The Infernal Dragon goes down, secured by Rogue, and now Azir's trying to put that wall up, and Upset's on the chase. Already one Rogue player is down. It's Woolite who's fallen. Finn's going to try and escape at the back of the pit, and he will survive. Up towards the top side of the fight, Vander is where he's in a herd all of his own up there, looking for pastures new. And the tower will chip away at him. IgNar shakes down
so
and
fast.
Gleaming with one auto. IgNar takes him. And Schalke able to clean up the fight. 2 kills to 0, but they did lose the Inferno.
And the bot lane falls once again. It feels like that even though there were repeated ganks that failed from the side of Schalke, now we're just seeing this bot lane continue to be attacked in these fights. So let's have a look at exactly how this play happened once again. This time around, Schalke abandoned the mid wave. They don't bother catching it. Instead, they force the fight. Rogue don't want to fight them. Their goal is to just disengage, and Vander is just keeping Abbedagge busy so the rest of his team can escape. You'll notice that Woolite got caught up by the Rakan, so he gets charmed towards his opposition, and there's nothing that he can do, while Vander is just forced to retreat, given that he has no options of escape.
I want to give a lot of credit to Upside. When you're competing against 2 champions like Tristana and Azir that have such a range advantage on you, the calling really has to count. And Upset's callings have been so on point. So credit to how he's playing out these fights with a mid-range ADC. I expected that Upset would be having to play to the backline, kiting back, and then slowly pushing forward through fights, but he is just sniping out Woolite and Larssen.
You can see the damage difference between the 2 AD carries there. Although
That's basically all the calling.
Exactly. Although Schalke have come out on top of some of these recent team fights, you do have to look at the gold, and it's about 2,000 gold lead for Rogue right now. They match the Infernal Dragons on the board, and coming up to the 20-minute mark, Rogue with a scaling composition are in an okay spot.
I also just think that it's worth recognizing the state of the map. You'll see that there is 3 towers taken down on the side of Schalke, whereas Rogue have only lost 1. This is because Rogue have been much better at playing the objective game throughout this entire series. Even last game, when Schalke found that Baron and Elder at the end of the game, remember that they had only secured 1 outer tower. And it's this difference between where, in the regular season, Schalke would often focus on playing for objectives. But in the playoffs, what they've primarily done is just look for fights. But it's Rogue that's actually been converting things into objective leads, and that's why right now, they have more map control overall.
I mean, I feel like Schalke are still playing for objectives. They're just only monster objectives.
I mean, that's very, very true. To be fair, they've had pretty good control over the Drake. But even last game, we think about it, they had the Elder Drake.
Don't hurt yourself.
They had the Elder Drake, but they actually only had 1 Drake in their back pocket, whereas Rogue had 4. So I feel like that Rogue overall have just had a much better control over the objectives throughout this series.
And as the game goes on, Rogue will be able to use that objective control with very strong team fighting tools in the form of Azir and Tristana, and see if they can pull Schalke into some disadvantageous fights. Now, there's 2 minutes on an Ocean Dragon, not the most vital target in the game, but there is a Baron up as well, and Rogue should be able to take that pretty quickly if they want to.
I actually really love Rogue's lane assignments right now. The fact that they've parked Azir into the mid lane, and since Woolite and Larssen both have access to TP, and then it's like, okay, who do we want in an extended side lane? Do we want the Azir, who has his ultimate and kind of dash away, or do we want the Tristana, who can blow people back, hop to safety, and flash? But Finn?
Oh, good flash from Finn. The quickness coming out from IgNar. He will land it, and there's the knockup as well. Upset takes the kill, and Schalke, they were praising the lane assignments as well, because they said, well, Finn's a pretty juicy target in a side lane.
I was happy with Larssen and Woolite's lane assignments. Finn just a little bit too far forward. There was no other pressure points on his map.
This is something that we do sometimes see, as we're now seeing once again from
He tried
Woolite.
to predict it, but he wasn't able to land it. Odo goes down in the side lane as Inspired chases him out. Vander knocks back Trick. Abbedagge still on the chase here, looking to get back towards that tower. The Unbreakable Will is about to break, as Vander will start taking a little bit more damage, and it's enough. Abbedagge lands a final shot. And there's another kill on the board for Schalke.
So the game is descending into a bit of chaos right now as people are just randomly dying all over the map. It feels like that no one's really playing for any objective. They're just getting caught, overextending. We see it from the side of Woolite, we see it from Finn, and somehow we also see it from Odoamne as he gets solo killed out by Inspired in the bot side of the map. So it feels like that both these teams perhaps feeling the pressure of this long series.
And I know that the tower just went down, Schalke taking Rogue's tower down up to the top side, but I feel like a map state that is a little bit messy, a little bit chaotic right now, and isn't really accelerating to the place that you want to go, actually favors Rogue.
Yeah.
Because again, they have that scaling advantage. So the longer that we're watching Schalke really hard force a lot of these plays, and they're not really finding the give that they want, the better that Rogue fans should feel, because that just buys their team more time to when they outscale.
The problem is that it's Rogue's bot lane that's currently sitting at 0-7, and they are the one of the core scaling parts. They wanted to try and go as even as possible, and the reality is they're at a pretty big deficit compared to the likes of Upset right now. So when Larssen, who's going to be turning online relatively soon, I feel like that his AD carry won't be in a similar position. So these fights, I feel like that Rogue are going to want to stall for even longer than they typically would, just because of the deficit the Woolite finds himself.
But you still have Inspired, and he can be the breach.
I mean, that's the thing, right?
Trick and Abbedagge pushing into the jungle here. Larssen was spotted out on a wood. Woolite's just going to jump across and clear out the wave. And now Schalke 4 men strong in the top side of the map, can try and pressure Larssen here. He has to be a little bit careful because IgNar is on the flank.
Also looking at Finn, who does have his TP available alongside Odoamne. Both top laners could look for a teleport, and seeing there any flank, well, the one ward that I thought Finn could TP to, IgNar is now clearing out. So Schalke focusing on securing river control around the Baron. They do have a pretty solid Baron taking comp. The question is, will they look to start it against Inspired's Olaf?
I also think an issue is that Trick has
IgNar.
IgNar has the flag straight onto Larssen. He's locked up and he's shut down. And Schalke find the fight they're looking for. TP's coming in from them as well as Rogue trying to turn it around. Trick's going to take out Woolite. Finn has the flank position here. Inspired trying to survive. We'll get away from Abbedagge for the moment. Now Finn is not in the best of shapes. Blast cones away. But IgNar can chase in with the grand entrance, and they would spot where Finn is going. Lots of pings coming out. The rest of Rogue have backed away.
But Finn just needs to buy time here. Larssen's TP is up. He'll be up in 20 seconds here. So he's surely going to fall.
That's the equalizer going down as well, though. The world ender popped by Finn. He's on the. He's
or
running
he'll
away
walk
here.
it out.
He can try and walk it out. He's getting chased down in the end. He will fall, as you say. But he got it locked out of Schalke there.
But yeah, the damage was done. Larssen is now going to respawn. He has TP. They lost Trick in that fight, so Schalke can't immediately turn that team fight victory into a Baron.
However, they do have double teleport on both Abbedagge and Upset, so I wonder if they'll look to try and force it. But great flank coming in from IgNar. That river control paying off beautifully as they're able to find that flash engage onto Larssen. With him taken out of the picture, pretty much all of the damage disappears. And while there's Woolite that finds the kill, Finn is too far away to join the fight, and it's effectively a 3 versus 4 for the vast majority of the second half of the fight. So Finn comes in too late, can't contribute a huge amount, and then he does buy time, but Schalke ultimately come out on top.
And the thing is that Schalke have to look for kind of all-on fights and kill a bunch of Rogue members before they can turn to the Baron at this point in the game, because they don't have the necessary tank itemization to really just tank the Baron and deal with Rogue if they approach, when you have someone like an Azir, a Tristana, as well as a very fed Olaf. So it'll be a little bit later before Schalke can actually start playing with their options of utilizing the TP and just immediately turning and burning the Baron, rather than looking for fights, because that's the easiest way to secure it if Rogue are entirely dead.
Now, Schalke have been able to close that gold gap we talked about earlier on. It's about even in this game now. You have items popping up across the board. Trinity Force Rapid Fire Cannon complete. Abbedagge on his way to his Infinity Edge. There's an Essence Reaver and a Rapid Fire Cannon on Upset alongside it. The death cap finish for Larssen. He's tipping his cap towards the Schalke players and seeing if he can find some of these connections, because it is very much on him to carry some of these fights.
Schalke have full control over the sideways right now. They have bot pushing in their favor. Top has also been pushed in. Rogue are being forced to group because Larssen is the only man with TP, and they don't feel comfortable sending him off to a side lane right now. So Rogue, if they want to regain control over the map, they need to do something quick, because farm is just bleeding away from them.
This is repeated instances where, while Schalke have been very good at placing vision, they haven't been as clean denying vision. And multiple times throughout this series, Rogue have had wards that basically save lives and really stall out a lot of Schalke setup. And this is Schalke investing a lot of time, a lot of gold into these areas and not finding what they need from it.
As we said before, wards save lives. Rogue here playing very well around the vision game, but Schalke have been coming out on top of some of those previous team fights. They have some scaling elements on their side this game as well, in the form of the Corki sitting on Abbedagge. In his rookie year, he is stepping up for this team. It's been incredible on things like the Akali. It's the first time we have seen him on Corki this year, I believe, or this split. So we'll see if his late game on this champion is enough to carry Schalke through some of these fights.
I mean, there always is the level 16 from Odo in tandem with a Corki in terms of like just a wombo combo that can wipe any scaling composition off the face of the map. So there's always that kind of miracle option for Schalke in team fights.
I'm kind of looking at how Schalke are setting up a lot of their fights, and I do feel that there are windows that they create and they just don't take advantage of. And I feel like a lot of these fights that we've seen so far, they kind of rely on Rogue to overextend, and then Schalke then finds a successful flank. And again, if we once again bring attention to the minimap, you'll notice again, ward here, ward here, ward here. Like, there are a lot of flanking options available for Schalke to try and come in from behind Rogue. But the biggest problem they have is this mid tower. So what they want to do is find a fight and then convert it into the mid objective.
Woolite buffers the jump away and will escape from the Glacial Prison. Schalke were looking for the fight, but Rogue once again on the ball with their reactions.
That's a lot of really key ultimates, specifically the Sejuani one that's been burned there. Now, Odo still has access to his Rumble ultimate, so maybe that's what dissuades Rogue to not immediately run towards Infernal and contest.
Maybe they just go for the Baron.
Yep, they're going for it. Rumble's ultimate is available. He's still in the mid lane for now, but Rogue immediately going to disengage. They recognize how dangerous that situation was, but they have to take the long way around. This could be the mid tower going in favor of Schalke.
It looks like Upset not staying around will mean it is not the tower going down. They landed a little bit more damage on it. It's about 2-3 auto attacks away from dead from either Upset or Abbedagge. But for now, that tower remains, and Rogue still remain strong in that mid lane.
At this point, though, we have the necessary tank itemization that's come out, and this late in the game, with that many damage items as well as double Infernal, Schalke can actually just sneak the Baron if they get an opportunity to do so from red side, as long as Trick is with them. So we can now start playing out how we want to move around this Baron objective differently, rather than Schalke just having to force the fight, having to kill Rogue before they could ever turn to this objective.
I do wonder if Schalke are brave enough, courageous enough to make a call like that. Will they jump into the back of the pit? Because remember in game one when they were caught out at the Rift Herald, when they thought Rogue couldn't spot them, it didn't really work out for them. Now the quickness has come out from IgNar. Woolite jumping away. Trick misses the Glacial Prism, but still flashes in for the chase. And here comes Larssen. Upset going forward. The shuffle back from Larssen, but Trick is taking up the tower. Vander coming in as well, and Upset's going to open up on him. Vander down to about half HP, and it's 1-for-1 trade in the top lane.
And you can see exactly what Schalke want to do. They want to find the picks, then rotate that into Baron. But every single time they overextend, and Trick is dying, and it is just stalling out all of their plans.
But also, these Rogue overextensions are just so strange. The fact that Woolite ended up getting collapsed on like that just goes to show that both teams, it feels like, are kind of struggling to figure out what to do in this like mid to late game state. Because Schalke can't secure this mid tower, they should now finally get it. They've kind of been limited in their options in terms of how to set up for things like the Baron. And a part of me feels like both teams are kind of waiting for that prime opportunity, but neither of them are trying to force that opportunity from coming to fruition.
I don't know, I feel like Schalke are forcing, and it makes sense to me that Rogue are the ones waiting, because again, they want to get closer to that itemization, so they're just trying to walk into free farm waves. Now, yes, they have overextended multiple times, but this is kind of the only option that Rogue have at this point. Just gather up as much gold as possible to get to your item breakpoints, and then try to set up fights.
I suppose, but I just feel like in that situation, the fact that Woolite was so far up in the lane with only Larssen there to support him and Vander being the one to hold the mid, I'm just like, you give the enemy team a very easy opportunity there to engage on you when they've maintained full river control around the Baron for like the last 10 minutes. So I kind of look at this and think to myself, if you're going to stall, that's fine. I don't have a problem with you trying to stall out and like wait for whatever item spike you're aiming for. But at least, you know, try not to give opportunities for your opposition to find those picks that could result in something like a Baron.
I think it's about picking your poison. Both Larssen and Woolite don't have flash, so like, who could maybe survive to get this far? It's your turn, buddy.
Wait, Baron, Baron, Baron. It has been started off right now by Schalke.
Remember, they can take it now.
Inspired's coming in, though. IgNar still has a flank position. They're going to go off the Baron for the moment. Inspired pops to Ragnarok. The Glacial Prism lands. Inspired down. He's culled. And now Rogue needs to look for the fight. Odo losing to Finn up towards the bottom lane. He flashes in and he's done. Finn gets the kill. It's a 1-for-1 trade, but the jungler is down for Rogue. And maybe Schalke will turn straight towards that Baron.
But they have to be careful because Finn is in a position where he could just TP in and fight Schalke 4 versus 4. With Larssen and Woolite still alive and with the front line of Vander up and ready to go, Schalke cannot afford to just take this Baron without the risk of Rogue engaging.
Stepping into darkness, Rogue know that their playoff hopes might rest on this. The charm comes out, it's Woolite, he's caught, but he jumps away. He doesn't live to survive another day. Larssen needs to open up, needs to do the damage, but he's down as well. And now it's all on Finn, trying to catch out Trick. He's stun locked, he goes golden. Abbedagge has the damage if they can keep Finn away from the Corki. Now he's going to run away, but he goes back in, looking for IgNar, heals up. The Infernal Chains don't quite connect. Abbedagge is still there, he's locked up as well, but Trick comes in with the Arctic Assault, and it's Finn, he's doing it all! It's Finn! He's 17 years old, and he is carrying this fight! It's Finn! It's Finn once again! And he's actually 20, but he played that incredibly well!
Finn with the 1 versus 3 keeps Rogue's hopes alive. Inspired now back alive. Double teleport available for Rogue. That was the play that Rogue needed to keep that trip to Athens alive.
And that will be the call that could make Finn's career here. They're on the Baron. He is zoning IgNar away. Trick on 12 seconds.
What a play from Finn. Incredible performance by him in his rookie season. He'll take down IgNar, and he held the line for Rogue. He would not let them die today. He kept this series alive.
And this is why it's so important. We keep talking about scaling. Guess what? Now that you have the Baron, even if you don't get to use it offensively, it at least neutralizes the map and gives you time to farm. Rogue are now going to be in a position where they're going to start hard winning these fights.
Great utilization of that Fog of War from IgNar to lock down Woolite and initiate this fight. The fact that Finn was the only member alive, you think, okay, it's over. But the lifesteal that's coming out from this champion is just ridiculous. You can see that he's just chipping away at these members. He's just biding his time, waiting for the overextension to come, sidestepping all these skill shots from Abbedagge as well, and ultimately using the bonus movement speed to chase the Corki down, find the double kill, and allow Rogue to secure the Baron.
And quietly, Finn has just accumulated such an advantage. Level 18 got all of those shutdown gold, and he has been smashing Odoamne to these side lanes. This now opens up another opportunity, not just for the grouped up 5v5, but Finn can run away with any lane assignment, any side lane at this point in the game.
And Rogue are using their advantage to come in and steal away this blue buff. Finn down towards the bottom side has a GA now. You have to kill him twice if you want to take him down. Trick and IgNar spotted on a ward now, or maybe just IgNar was spotted. Abbedagge coming in to clear out the way, but meanwhile mid lane pushed in here by Rogue. They've been penned back by Schalke so many times this series, and now Rogue are the ones pushing Schalke back towards their base.
The waves aren't synced as nicely as they could be from Rogue here. They still get that tower, but it was really trying to sync this bottom wave with an approaching mid lane wave.
Notice that Upset is now actually full build. He is 7-1-3 right now. He has 4,000 more gold than Woolite. He is level 18. And so even though we talk about how Lucian has this like mid-game spike, he's really strong. And that can't afford to be underestimated.
It's because he's just so far ahead of the clock.
Yeah, it's just, he's super strong. Woolite,
Oh, one shot. The equalizer comes down as well. IgNar looking for the quickness, but he's knocked back. TP's coming in. IgNar just about escapes towards the back line, but here comes Finn. Abbedagge coming in, has the package. Could look for Larssen, he's low, but Abbedagge won't dive this tower yet. Now, will they use the package to go forward? They're still chasing on. They're looking for the fight against Rogue. They cannot find the connections. They don't have the long-range CC.
The team fights can work for Rogue if they play them out correctly. And unfortunately, when Woolite eats that much damage that early on in the fight and gets forced out, Rogue will have no options.
I mean, the reality is, Schalke just have way more crowd control and follow-up in their comp. Sejuani ultimate into Rumble ultimate into Rakan ultimate. It's a way easier method of starting off fights. Look at Rogue's composition. What do they need? Well, an Olaf running at the enemy team, perhaps an Alistar flash, headbutt, pulverize. Like, they want to be poking away at their opposition. They want to be using the range advantage that they have to teamfight. They want to be walking backwards while the enemy tries to engage on them. So the fact that Rogue have even put themselves in this position is great for them, because Schalke have not been able to successfully find a lot of these fights that they could have forced a lot earlier on.
Which is why I think the pivot has to come to this young man up into the top lane. How Inspired can shadow underneath Finn and help unleash this Aatrox in 1v1 or 2v2 duels.
I think it's also important to remember that when Schalke try and engage too, that Rogue's re-engage ability is quite strong. Culling going to come out from Upset.
That's the Unbreakable Will, but the equalizer comes down as well. Vander's just dead. He's just done. Schalke find a pick, but meanwhile in the top lane, Rogue are pushing in. Only at the tier 2.
But look at the collapse.
The Schalke are collapsing in.
Can they get out?
Trick still has the ult. Abbedagge has the cannon barrage. Inspired flashes forward, but Abbedagge quick on the trigger finger with the Valkyrie. Now Odo coming in from the side, doesn't have the equalizer. Trick has his ult. Upset coming in as well. IgNar has the quickness, looking for it. They're going in. Larssen tries to knock him away, but the quickness comes out. Inspired already taking down IgNar, and now the fight really erupts. Finn's gonna go into the GA, and Woolite's joined the fray. Upset trying to get away, but Woolite could do it all. Finn in a 4v1 now. Schalke find the flank, they find the fight, and they find the ace in the end.
And look at the teleports coming out from Schalke. Upset comes up clutch in that fight, doing so much damage, and Schalke finding that successful collapse onto the 3 members of Rogue. They played it patiently. They found the successful fight, and with these death timers, this could be Schalke locking their trip into Athens.
They're priming the waves. They've got Sejuani and Abbedagge coming over the wall. They're going to look for the end.
Schalke going for this inhib tower down towards the bottom side. The inhibitor next on the menu. It's only Vander left alive, inspired up in 20, but that's going to be way too long. The equalizer comes up. Vander tries to dive in, head first, headbutt, seeing what he can do to delay the oncoming Royal Blues. But Schalke will not be stymied. Schalke will not be stopped. Schalke will not be held back today because they are making their way to Athens.
A hard-fought series from both teams. Tense fights, crazy plays, but in the end, it is Schalke that come out on top. It is Schalke that find that pick into the final fight that allow them to win the final and most important game of this series. And who other than Upset to find that pick in the mid lane, to be the level 18 carry that can provide the damage to allow his team to win it all in the end.
You can see the looks on the Rogue players' faces. This meant everything to them, but you have to give them so much credit. In a rookie split for most of these players, in an organization that came last place in spring, to fight and be the 4th best team in Europe is incredible.
Fans will certainly remember the name for Rogue when we see them again in 2020. But Schalke, with this victory, not only go to Athens, but now secure a spot in the regional qualifier.
Their shot at making World is still a reality, and unfortunately, it is not for Rogue. Due to not qualifying in playoffs of spring, they will not have enough points to compete in the gauntlet, but still, it's a tough one, right? Because whenever we sit there and say, like, they can still be proud of what they've achieved, finishing 4th, like, when you're in that position, you never feel like that. You never look at the bright side. You just look at the fact that you lost, and you look at the fact that it was close. It was so close for Rogue. Larssen is going to be so angry at himself for what happened in Game 3. They're going to look at this game, and they're going to be like, if only we'd made different decisions, if we hadn't overextended, if we hadn't got caught here. Like, it was so close, and that's just going to frustrate them, and you can't help but feel bad. But they put up such a fantastic fight. They created such an amazing series. We all expected this to go to 5 games. But in the end, it was Schalke that came out on top in the day. They found their consistency, they found their form, and ultimately, they found the win.
And it wasn't just Upset. I mean, Upset had an incredible game in game number 4, but huge credit to Odo.
Yeah.
He showed up this series. And when you talk about a team like Schalke, Odo is almost never the name that's going to come out of your mouth first. It's always going to be Trick. It's going to be Upset. It's going to be even Abbedagge and IgNar, and then maybe Odo. But Odo said, you will respect my Rumble, you will respect my Cannon, picks up his first pentakill, and really hard carried some of those games.
All round, just great stuff from Schalke. Our eyes turn, you have to think, to Fnatic and G2, as will Schalke's eyes. They play up against each other tomorrow, and Schalke will be joining them in Athens. And it's the next step up for them. They have to find another gear. I think this series showed some of their potential, but if you're Schalke, you're thinking, would that work against Fnatic? Would that work against G2? And I think you'd find yourself just that little bit lacking.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow, because we haven't seen these teams in 2 weeks now. We don't know what G2 and Fnatic is going to look like after their practice. They'll have picks prepared, they'll have strategies prepped, so. And I think that it's going to be a pretty interesting series, and it'll give us an indication of how well Schalke stack up against.
Pretty interesting is putting it lightly. We have a best of 5 between Fnatic and G2 tomorrow.
I mean, I think it's just important to recognize that this G2 roster has only ever lost 2 games in a best-of-5 series, and both of them were to SK Telecom. So, like, that's a scary thing to go up against.
And recently I heard a big EU analyst actually tweeted saying SK Telecom aren't a really good team. So
they've got some holes that can be exposed.
But now you guys can jump on over to Twitter, where Vedius said that, to @lolesports on Twitter. You can vote for Odoamne, Upset, or IgNar as your key player of the games.
I would love to see it go to Odo.
I think Odo deserves it, personally.
I think he's going to get a I think he's
Second
gonna
place
get
to
it.
upset.
Yeah, no, but I really do think that he played well. Like, you can give honorable mentions to Trick, but ultimately I feel that Odoamne did have the series, and like his performances is ultimately what allowed Schalke to get to this point. So mad props to him.